Today, Frontier have announced a pretty huge change for Elite Dangerous. They're going to be selling ships. Specifically, they're going to be selling pre-built ships. These are going to be available for real-world money on the ARX store. We're going to get to all the details on that in just a moment, including the availability and pricing. To start with though, I want to talk about the idea of selling ships for cash itself. Now, for people who have been paying close attention to Frontier, their whole situation with the market lately, as well as the changes with Elite Dangerous, I don't think many people will be too surprised about this. But of course, let's not mistake being surprised for being disappointed. These are two totally different things. Without a doubt, this is a massive change for Elite Dangerous, and it is going to affect both the gameplay as well as, the overall nature of some parts of the community as well. Another note that Frontier have announced that is entirely separate to this is that Frontier are going to rebalance engineering. And they say there's going to be a more focus on ship builds and how to achieve certain goals with these ships rather than focusing on collecting different materials. That's all they've announced on that particular thing so far, but if so, that could be a massive improvement for the game. Unfortunately, there's no further details on any of that just yet, but plenty other details on the ship sales. So before I get to my own personal opinions on that, and yes, my personal feelings is that this is pay to win, and I don't like pay to win, but there is a business side to this and a positive one. Now, don't get me wrong, that isn't my personal take. I don't think overall that selling ships is a good move for the game itself. It's not a good move for gameplay. But it seems Elite is in a very difficult position. It could well be in a case that this is the only way to keep it going. Ultimately, Elite Dangerous is a 10-year-old game. In the latest financial reports from Frontier, they've not actually mentioned Elite Dangerous, and that's the first time in Elite Frontier's public history of trading their public financials that they haven't actually mentioned the game by name. In the financial statement before that, however, they did say that space games are one of the core pillars of their business. However, they haven't iterated upon that again. They've never mentioned that beyond that initial time. Since then, their focus seems to be on creative management games, so games like Planet Coaster, Planet Zoo, and even the Jurassic World games, and this seems to be their plan going forward to making more and more of these games. Overall then, it means from a business point of view that Elite Dangerous may well possibly be less and less important to them. From a business point of view then, Frontier could be left with some decisions, and ultimately these would affect the community. Either they let Elite stagnate, don't put any further development into it, and just keep it going in a maintenance mode, or they do as they're doing and provide some ongoing updates to the game. The other solution is the one I've said I can't really ever see it happen anytime soon, and that would be turning the game off or shutting down the servers. And as I've said many times in the past, that is simply something I don't see happening, despite some rather foolish people out there keep claiming that I have said Elite is dead or is dying in the past. That's not something I've ever believed. The point remains though that really is the three futures that Elite Dangerous faces, either being completely shut down, going into the maintenance mode, or continuing with future development. And it seems the path forward is to continue with future development, as is shown by the fact Frontier are working on a Power Play 2.0, and we'll hear more about that very soon. And they're also working on another feature for the game coming later this year. Ultimately though, all of this does have to be funded. And if sales for copies of the game are not generating enough revenue anymore, and paint jobs are not generating enough revenue anymore, then Frontier really do have to look for alternative solutions to this, alternative business opportunities. And it seems as though they have settled on the idea of selling these pre-made ships. So then, what is it specifically that Frontier are going to be selling? Well, they're going to be selling ships, and more specifically, they're going to be selling pre-built ships. This means ships built with the respective modules needed for a particular task. The example they cited in their forum post is an AX ship, an AX built ship, so that is an alien attack ship, a ship designed to go and destroy the Thargoids. Instead of going into the game and going and finding the respective and relevant modules you need to build this particular ship, instead you'll be able to go to the game's ARX store and purchase an Alliance Chieftain already fitted with the necessary modules to allow you to go Thargoid hunting, so you'll be able to dive straight in to that particular avenue of gameplay. There will also be other pre-built versions of ships, so ships of all types allow you to do things I'd imagine such as trading, combat, exploration, mission running, and much more. In other words, it's going to save you a heck of a lot of time when it comes to grinding. That, after all, is the thing that Elite Dangerous is very well known for. It has a massively long grind. And despite what a lot of people, or some people at least in some quarters do feel, grinding is not a state of mind, it is a matter of fact. And Frontier have even referred to the in-game gameplay as grind themselves. So sure, whilst you can certainly just play the game a little bit here and a little bit there and slowly accumulate the various items over time, some people simply don't have the time to do that. So for those people who feel that they really don't want to invest that type of time into that particular aspect of the gameplay, and they feel reasonably happy to go out and spend a bit of extra cash, then they'll be able to go out and purchase these ships directly. Now, to be perfectly clear here, these pre-built ships also come with a ship kit, and they also come with a paint job, and these are things that people are already paying for at the moment, and have been paying for quite a few years at this point. So essentially, these are pre-built packs. These are packs that include, well, a bunch of cosmetics as well. Now, there's a couple of other things going on here. The Python Mark II is a brand new ship coming to Elite Dangerous later this year. Frontier have confirmed that the Python Mark II is only going to be available to Odyssey players. So if you have the standard version of Elite Dangerous, you won't be able to get access to the Python Mark II. It's only going to be available in-game for in-game credits from the various shipyards and through gameplay if you actually own Odyssey. The new ship, the Python Mark II, is coming on the 7th of August. However, Frontier have said that if you want early access to this ship, you'll be able to do so from the 7th of May by purchasing it directly from the Arc store. And this is going to be available for both Odyssey players as well as non-Odyssey players. So if you want to purchase it in-game, you actually need to have Odyssey. If you don't have Odyssey and you don't want to get Odyssey, you'll have to purchase the ship from the Arc store. That will be the only other way of getting it. So you'll be able to get it 3 months early then from the Arc store, or wait until August and get it for free inside the game. If you want to get it early, how much is it going to cost you? Well, it's going to cost 16,250 arcs. It's roughly equal to a little bit less than £10. So a little bit perhaps on the pricey side, although that does fall in line with a lot of other similar items in other games out there. For example, airplanes in Microsoft Flight Simulator can be purchased for £5, £10, and they go up to many tens of pounds. It's not unheard of to purchase airplanes well up to £150 in some flight simulators, or even more. And then we have Star Citizen, of course. I don't think that's a fair comparison as such, because it's a very different market, a very different product. But nonetheless, that game does sell ships. So that's the price, a little over 16,000 arcs to get the Python Mark II a few months early. There's no word yet on the pricing for other ships, but I'd imagine they'd probably be similarly priced. Another question I had, like many of you no doubt do have, is whether or not these pre-built ships include engineered modules. Will they just be the modules you can purchase directly from the stations, or will they have some degree of engineering already pre-applied to them? As of this recording, the information I received from Frontier's partner program on Elite doesn't actually contain any details on that particular aspect, but I have reached out to Frontier to ask the question. But unfortunately, as of this recording, I haven't yet had an answer back on that. I'll keep you updated if I do receive something. And of course, it's always worth keeping an eye on the official forums, because the official announcement post for this may contain some additional information by the time you watch this video. Also, while still on the topic of the Arc store, Frontier are going to be making some additional changes to their store. They do seem to be feeling that the store over the years has kind of got a little bit too difficult to navigate, so they're going to improve that and make it a little bit better. They're also going to add another section to the Arc store, which will be for cosmetic items, and this will be a best sellers category. And this will include some of the limited edition paint jobs that they used to sell at specific times of the year. And this would be the Midnight Black paint jobs, the Stygian, and the Chrome version of paint jobs. These will now be available all year round at any time. Okay then, that's all the official information, along with some speculation as to why Frontier might be doing all of this. What about my feelings on this? Well, here's the thing. I'm not at all surprised that Frontier have made this move, and that's for the same reasons I mentioned early on in the video, for funding reasons and the needed cash, the needed revenue to actually keep Elite Dangerous going. Aside from that though, I personally don't think this is a very good direction for the game in terms of the gameplay. I don't think it's going to help anything. I also feel it really does to some degree confirm the nature of what many people, including myself, have said over the years, that Elite Dangerous does have free-to-play gameplay mechanics. For anyone who's played extensive free-to-play live service games over the years, such as Warframe or even the Diablo games, you'll recognise many of the similar mechanics in Elite Dangerous, and this is, to some degree, fairly unusual for a paid game. Well, let me make that a little bit clearer. This type of gameplay, grindy gameplay, is, when it comes to purchasable games, paid-for games, they often have a massive cash shop and try and push you towards that via the gameplay. Whereas games that don't have a cash shop tend to not worry too much about the grind. Now, I'm not for 1 minute saying that these grindy free-to-play games are bad. Some of them are actually some of them are bad, some of them are terrible, but some can be very good, such as Warframe. The point I'm really making here, though, is that once you introduce a cash shop that allows you to skip in-game gameplay, such as very heavily based, grind-based gameplay, so you go to the cash shop and pay a bunch of money to skip all that, well, you're on a bit of a slippery slope. For example, right now, Frontier might allow pre-built ships to be sold, and they're selling them for around about £10, but who knows, maybe in the future you're about to get level 1 engineered pre-built ships for £15 and level 3 pre-built engineered ships for £20. And even if they don't offer it right now, what's to stop them offering it in future? Who knows? That's always a possibility further down the line, I guess, depending on how successful this particular endeavour actually ends up being and how much money it does make for Frontier. So yeah, ultimately I don't think this is a particular good move for the game in terms of gameplay, not just because of the free-to-play like mechanics that I've already mentioned, but because it also further encourages Frontier to, well, increase the grind. Because if they want to sell ships, what's the best way of encouraging people to make the purchase? That's right, increasing the amount of time it actually takes to obtain certain ships and certain modules. The harder it is to obtain those modules, the more likely it is that players are going to actually purchase some ships to skip that grind. Of course, that's all just speculation on my part. Frontier might not go in that direction, but, just a year ago, people would have never believed that Frontier would have gone as far as they have today. That's my perspective on it from the gameplay side of things. From the business side of things, though, I do feel that ultimately it's probably either a case of do this or have an Elite Dangerous game that receives no further future updates. For me, I think, well, perhaps this is the better of two evils. Perhaps we're better off with purchasable ships rather than a game with no future updates. Either way, I'm sure you've all got some opinions on all of this, so do let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. Very much appreciated. I'll catch you next time, and take care.